We got him surrounded. Let him get away.
We got you surrounded. Give yourselves up.
By the window once I waited for you. Laughing slightly you would run. Trees alone would shield us in the meadow.
They do not want you to think too much. That is why our country and our world has become so proliferated with entertainments, mass media, game shows, television shows, amusement parks, drugs, alcohol, and every kind of entertainment to keep the human mind entertained so that you don't get in the way of important people by doing too much thinking. You had better wake up and understand that there are people who are guiding your life and you don't even know it. And all American citizens, I think, have suspected something like this is going on. But we're all too busy trying to stay alive and live our lives. And after all, what can one person do about it? One person can do nothing, but a nation educated can do much.
Are you kidding? How about this?
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? He's quite the motivational speaker, isn't he? Let's ride!
It's great to have the Food Babe on with us to talk about some of these initiatives and some of the big news that's taking place. Russia's looking right now at completely banning all GMO, you know, where they have pesticides that grow naturally in the crop. And by naturally, I mean they engineer it where it grows in the crop itself so bugs can't eat it, but then we can supposedly eat it. Big Pharma and Big Agra have obviously been lobbying so that we don't have labeling to know stuff like that is going on. So great to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me here today, Alex.
You bet. So where do we start? I mean, tell us about your show, what you're doing, and some of the big initiatives. Or let's say you're talking to new people that aren't worried about food, don't know what's going on. Most of our audience does, but if you had 5 minutes to warn somebody about what's going on and let them understand what's happening.
Well, there's been a mass deception of the food industry. The entire reason the food industry has been able to make millions and millions and millions of dollars and make more than was ever thought possible is because they are creating food in a laboratory that makes us either addicted to it, makes us reliant upon it, or is encouraging us through marketing tactics to thinking that we need that type of food. And the only food that we really do need is what comes naturally from the earth, that's grown by heirloom seeds, not genetically engineered in a laboratory, not made in a factory or a plant. And but we need to be eating plants. And I think the one thing that really upsets me and that really energizes a lot of people is understanding what's in ingredients. And when you look at the back of the package, and if you can't pronounce it, and if you can't even spell it, is it something that you really need to be eating? And when I tell people about, for example, an ingredient called azodicarbonamide that I just launched a petition today on foodbabe.com/subway, where this ingredient is a foamed plastic. It's used in yoga mat, in shoe soles, in synthetic leather. And it is a chemical, when you breathe it in, it causes asthmatic reaction. And this is a chemical that Subway bread is using. Subway sandwiches, all of their rolls, their deli style rolls, their 9-grain wheat bun, their oats, their honey oat, their Italian, their Monterey cheddar, all of those different ones have this chemical in it here in the United States, but not anywhere else across the globe. Not in the UK, not in Europe, not in Australia, not in Singapore. Actually, if you get caught using this ingredient in Singapore, you get put in prison, you get fined $450,000 because this chemical is very dangerous to deal with. But
it's him, Professor Screw-Eyes.
Cecilia, get away from that man.
Hey, chill out. We just joined his circus.
That's Professor Screw-Eyes. We were warned about him.
Warned? By whom?
Your brother.
So that's how you got here and why you can talk. He's fed you that brain grain stuff, and he warned you about me, eh? Let him look to his own affairs. Did he show you that hokey wish radio of his?
Yes, we heard what people are wishing for.
Well, I have a radio, too. Let me show it.
Nope, no way, nada. We don't want anything to do with you. Come on, kids. Come to the museum with us. A museum of natural history.
They're not going anywhere. They're under contract to me for a very long time.
But these are the first children we've met.
We like them.
Hey, come on, it's gonna be all right.
Oh, I don't think so. Unless we can work something out with your friends here. This is a time of loud wishes, yes, but even louder fears. This is a fright radio. It picks up what people are scared to death of. You see, I find out what they're frightened of on this radio, and that's what I try to give them with my circus. It's a public service. But this is the station that comes in the loudest of all. Do you see what they're most afraid of?
No.
Monsters!
Monsters?
You!
Us? Us.
With a little help, yes!
What's that?
It's Brain Drain, the remedy to my brother's goody two-shoes breakfast cereal. It'll take you back. It'll make you monsters.
But we don't want to be monsters. We're not taking anything. You can forget it.
All right, you're free. You can go. I can't stop you. But the kids are mine.
Over the past 3 months, the Organic Spies recorded hidden camera footage of 30 employees at 12 Whole Foods stores in Los Angeles, California, to investigate intentional false marketing by Whole Foods. They train employees to tell customers they do not sell genetically engineered foods, even though 20 to 30% of their products contain GMOs.
It's against our policy to carry anything in the store with GMOs.
If these have GMOs, I just want to avoid them.
Yeah.
So.
Not to my understanding.
Okay.
If they did, we wouldn't be carrying them.
Okay.
In 2009, Whole Foods became the first nationally certified organic grocer when they were certified organic by CCOF. This led to deceptive marketing that causes many people to believe everything at Whole Foods is organic and chemical-free. Whole Foods heavily advertises this and uses other masterful greenwashing tactics to brand themselves as a local organic retailer so people believe everything in their store is healthy.
Whole Foods Market's favorite dishes start with locally grown organic produce.
The reality is, 20 to 30% of Whole Foods products contain GMO ingredients, depending on each store or region. Genetically engineered foods are everywhere, in the salad bar, packaged foods, meats, and dairy products, yet we are not informed of each product because there are hundreds of genetically engineered ingredients. Even the Whole Foods branded vitamin line may contain GMOs. On the Whole Foods website, they instruct people how to avoid GMOs at their stores by buying certified organic products with non-GMO Project Seal or Whole Foods 365 brand. No other information is available for people to guarantee they are avoiding GMOs. Whole Foods has mastered the art of bait and switch, advertising local and organic in all of their marketing and PR, getting people into their stores and then selling them lower cost, naturally labeled GMO products that result in higher profit margins for Whole Foods. This bait and switch practice has turned Whole Foods into a financial juggernaut. Whole Foods for the year ending September 25, 2011, had $10,107 million in sales. We estimate $2 to $3 billion of that comes from selling products containing GMO ingredients. On November 6th, California could become the first state to require labeling of genetically engineered foods. GMO foods are currently labeled in 49 countries, including China, Russia, and the entire European Union. Monsanto, Dow, DuPont, and multinational food companies are fighting to defeat Prop 37 and have spent $32,439,000. The financial supporters of Prop 37 who are demanding GMO labeling and our right to know have spent $3,861,000.
You get up in the morning, you go to work, you come home, you have your tea, you watch telly a bit, and you go to bed. You get up and you go to work. I mean, look at it. Other ways of living life than this drudgery. This world is crazy. Because it's so limited. The way it is, the way it's structured, it's slavery. It's not serving people. People are serving it. That's what we are. We're slaves to a system. Politicians are slaves to a system. They go into the system, they think they're going to change it, the system changes them.
And what we do is we put the child into the corridor of this grade system with a kind of, come on, kitty, kitty, kitty. And yeah, you go to kindergarten, you know. And that's a great thing because when you finish that, you'll get into first grade. And then come on, first grade leads to second grade and so on. And then you get out of grade school, you go to high school, and it's revving up, the thing is coming. Then you're going to go to college, and by Jove, then you get into graduate school. And when you're through with graduate school, you go out and join the world. Then you get into some racket where you're selling insurance. And they've got that quota to make. And you're going to make that. And all the time, the thing is coming. It's coming. It's coming. That great thing, the success you're working for. Then when you wake up one day about 40 years old, you say, my God, I've arrived. I'm there. And you don't feel very different from what you always felt. And there's a slight letdown because you feel there's a hoax. And there was a hoax. A dreadful hoax. They made you miss everything. We thought of life by analogy with a journey, with a pilgrimage, which had a serious purpose at the end. The thing was to get to that end. Success or whatever it is, or maybe heaven after you're dead. But we missed the point the whole way along. It was a musical thing, and you were supposed to sing or dance while the music was being played.
And it's gone. And it's gone.
And the world impoverishes itself by spending $1 trillion a year on preparations for war, and by employing perhaps half the scientists and high technologists on the planet in military endeavors. How would we explain all this to a dispassionate extraterrestrial observer? What account would we give of our stewardship of the planet Earth? We have heard the rationales offered by the superpowers. We know who speaks for the nations, but who speaks for the human species? Who speaks for Earth? From an extraterrestrial perspective, our global civilization is clearly on the edge of failure in the most important task it faces, preserving the lives and well-being of its citizens and the future habitability of the planet. But if we're willing to live with the growing likelihood of nuclear war, shouldn't we also be willing to explore vigorously every possible means to prevent nuclear war? Shouldn't we consider in every nation major changes in the traditional ways of doing things, a fundamental restructuring of economic, political, social, and religious institutions? Fundamental changes in society, sometimes labeled impractical or contrary to human nature, as if nuclear war were practical, or as if there were only one human nature. But fundamental changes can clearly be made. We're surrounded by them. In the last 2 centuries, abject slavery, which was with us for thousands of years, has almost entirely been eliminated in a stirring worldwide revolution. Women, systematically mistreated for millennia, are gradually gaining the political and economic power traditionally denied to them. And some wars of aggression have recently been stopped and curtailed because of a revulsion felt by the people in the aggressor nations. The old appeals to racial, sexual, religious chauvinism and to rabid nationalist fervor. We've reached a point where there can be no more special interests or special cases. Nuclear arms threaten every person on the Earth, beginning not to work. A new consciousness is developing which sees the Earth as a single organism and recognizes that an organism at war with itself is doomed. We are one planet.
The human being realize that we are all one, basically. Not as an idea, but as a fact. Because when you go to India, you see the misery, the confusion, the anxiety, the despair of people running to their petty little gods whom they have created. If you come to Europe, it's exactly psychologically bound together. If one realizes that profoundly in your guts, in your blood, in your heart, in your mind, then you are responsible.
Don't you see?
You're a great crowd before I go, even though this is a world where good men are murdered. Men who try and help are murdered and cut down in their prime of their youth, and hacks and mediocres and fascists run everything else. I'm going to share with you a vision that I had, because I love you, and you feel it. You know all that money we spend on nuclear weapons and defense every year, trillions of dollars, correct? Instead, just play with this. If we spent that money feeding and clothing the poor of the world, and it would pay for it many times over, not one human being excluded, we could, as one race, explore outer space together in peace forever.
I think all our society is run by insane people for insane objectives. You know, and I think that's what I sussed when I was 16 and 12 way down the line. But I expressed it differently all through my life. It's the same thing I'm expressing all the time, but now I can put it into that sentence that I think we're being run by maniacs for maniacal ends, you know. If anybody can put on paper what our government and the American government, etc., and the Russian, Chinese, what they are actually trying to do, you know, and what they think they're doing, I'd be very pleased to know what they think they're doing. I think they're all insane. You know, but I'm liable to be put away as insane for expressing that. You know, that's what's insane about it.
You know what would change the world overnight is if we as a human race started doing what we knew to be right and just in the circumstances that we face, instead of making those decisions as so many people do and have long done on basis of what is right for me in this circumstance that I face. Okay, the just thing to do might not be in the moment the best thing to do, but it's the just and right thing to do. And if we started doing what we knew to be right when we're faced with these decisions, as opposed to what we perceive is right for us in the moment, although doing what is right for us in the eternity. Martin Luther King said, cowardice asks the question, is it safe? Expediency asks the question, is it politic? Vanity asks the question, is it popular? But conscience asks the question, is it right? There comes a time when one must take a position that is neither safe, nor politic, nor popular, but one must take it because it is right. And when enough of us take that stance, everything changes. The revolution is not a revolution of weapons, it's not a revolution of fighting, it's not a revolution of hatred, it's a revolution of perception, because everything changes. I am a lion then. I'm not the lamb I kept seeing in the mirror and the world kept telling me I was. And then that expresses itself out into the true nature of who we are. Then everything would change. If we want a world of peace, then be peaceful. It sounds trite, it sounds simple, but it's devastatingly profound. That's what we need to be with each other. You know, we have people going on anti-war marches who are hurling abuse at each other in their relationships and stuff like that. If we war with each other, then the collective version of that is warring collectively. If we want peace, let's be peaceful. If we want a world of kindness, then let's be kind. And it must come, for goodness sake. It must, if we're all kind to each other. We live in a kind world.